Tonight, dear friend, we travel back in time to the quiet roads of Georgian England, where the glow of two swinging lanterns gently cuts through the darkness. 4 patient horses breathe clouds into the cool night air, and somewhere beyond the next hill, an entire nation waits for the arrival of tomorrow's letters. The story begins shortly after sunset as listeners step aboard a Royal Mail coach for a peaceful overnight journey, discovering how thousands of ordinary people depended on these remarkable coaches long before railways transformed Britain. Tonight, dear friend, we travel back in time to an England where the night belonged not to silence alone, but to the steady rhythm of horses carrying letters across the countryside. Before the first mile of our journey begins, allow your breathing to settle into a slow, comfortable pace. There is no need to hurry. Nothing is waiting to be solved tonight. We are simply taking our place beside a trusted mail coach as another peaceful evening unfolds beneath a sky filled with quiet stars. It is late in the Georgian era, sometime near the close of the 18th century. The day's warmth has begun to fade, leaving behind cool country air scented with damp earth, fresh-cut hay, and distant wood smoke drifting lazily from cottage chimneys. Above the rolling fields, the last bands of golden light slowly disappear beyond gentle hills, while a pale moon rises to guide travelers through the darkness. Far from the crowded streets of London, a coaching inn rests beside one of Britain's great turnpike roads. Its stone walls glow softly beneath lantern light. Inside, the warmth of a crackling fireplace spills through open windows, carrying with it the comforting aroma of roasted meat, fresh bread, and rich ale. Outside, however, another night's work is only beginning. Tonight, you are not a wealthy passenger or an important government official. Instead, you will experience life through the eyes of a mail coach driver, one of the ordinary yet remarkably dependable people whose work quietly connected an entire kingdom long before telephones, railways, or electric lights ever existed. Your coach waits patiently beneath the stable lanterns. It is painted in deep shades of royal red and black, its polished wooden panels reflecting flickering candlelight. Brass fittings gleam softly, carefully cleaned despite years of faithful service. Leather straps hold the suspension together, while 4 powerful horses stand calmly before the coach, occasionally stamping their heavy hooves against the packed earth. The stable yard feels wonderfully alive without ever becoming noisy. A groom gently brushes the neck of a chestnut gelding. Another checks every buckle on the harness. Nearby, an older stable hand quietly inspects each iron horseshoe, making certain nothing has loosened during the previous journey. Every small task matters. A broken strap or loose shoe many miles from the nearest village could delay dozens of important letters and leave travelers stranded beneath uncertain weather. You notice how carefully everyone moves. No one wastes energy. No one shouts. Years of routine have taught each worker exactly what must be done before darkness fully settles across the countryside. The smell of clean leather mingles with fresh straw scattered across the stable floor. Horses breathe gentle clouds into the cooling evening air. Somewhere nearby, a barn owl begins its nightly call from an old oak tree standing beside the inn. Inside the coaching office, another equally important ritual quietly unfolds. Bundles of letters lie neatly stacked upon a broad oak table. Each packet is tied securely with cord and sealed carefully with wax-bearing official markings. Some letters carry family news that has traveled for weeks. Others contain business contracts, military instructions, legal documents, or newspapers eagerly awaited by readers in distant towns. To modern eyes, these bundles might appear ordinary, yet within them rest countless hopes, worries, celebrations, and farewells. A young clerk, perhaps no older than 20, carefully checks every destination against a handwritten ledger. His candle throws long shadows across the page as his feather quill moves steadily from one line to another. Every parcel must reach the correct coach before departure. Mistakes cannot easily be corrected once the horses begin moving. Outside once more, you step toward the driver's high wooden seat. Climbing into position requires practiced balance. The seat rests well above the road, offering a clear view of winding lanes stretching into the distance. From here you will guide 4 horses across dozens of miles before dawn. Beside you sits the guard. Unlike the driver, whose hands rarely leave the reins, the guard watches over the Royal Mail itself. His responsibilities include protecting the post, keeping time between coaching stations, blowing a distinctive brass horn before arriving at each stop, and remaining alert against the possibility of highway robbery. Although robberies have become less common than in earlier decades, caution remains part of every journey. The guard carries himself with quiet confidence. A heavy greatcoat shields him from the night's chill. His polished boots rest firmly upon the footboard. Nearby hangs a blunderbuss, not as a symbol of excitement, but as reassurance that valuable mail will continue safely toward its destination. For most nights, thankfully, it remains untouched. The coaching inn begins settling into its familiar evening rhythm. Travelers finishing supper quietly gather their belongings. Innkeepers exchange polite conversations with regular customers. Stable boys carry fresh buckets of water toward waiting horses. Somewhere inside, laughter rises briefly before fading once again beneath the comforting crackle of burning logs. Everything feels orderly. Everything feels dependable. This quiet reliability is perhaps the greatest achievement of Britain's coaching system. Across hundreds of miles, thousands of ordinary workers perform small duties with remarkable consistency. Most people will never know their names, yet every successful delivery depends upon them. You gently gather the leather reins into your gloved hands. Years of experience have taught you exactly how much pressure each horse requires. The animals recognize familiar signals long before words become necessary. The lead pair flick their ears. The wheel horses shift their weight almost imperceptibly. All 4 stand ready. The guard removes a sturdy pocket watch from his coat and studies its polished face beneath the lantern. Departure must be punctual. The mail coach is expected elsewhere before midnight. Beyond that lies another coaching inn, another team of fresh horses, another collection of waiting letters. Time connects every stage of the journey. Being only a few minutes late at one station could quietly ripple across the entire network before sunrise. At last, the stable master offers a respectful nod. Everything is prepared. With one gentle movement, you loosen the reins. The horses lean forward together. Leather harnesses creak softly. Large wooden wheels begin turning across the packed earth. The coach rolls beneath the inn's wooden archway, leaving behind warm firelight and entering the peaceful darkness of the Georgian countryside. Ahead stretches a pale ribbon of road disappearing beneath moonlight. Ancient hedgerows border each side, their leaves whispering gently whenever a cool breeze passes through. Fields of barley ripple softly beneath silver light, while distant farmhouses glow with only a handful of candles still burning behind small windows. The rhythm soon becomes wonderfully familiar. Hooves strike the road with calm precision. The coach sways gently upon its suspension. Harness chains chime quietly with every measured stride. Above everything, the vast English sky watches silently, filled with patient stars that have guided travelers for countless generations. There is no hurry in your thoughts, only steady movement, mile after peaceful mile. As the first stretch of road carries you farther from the welcoming coaching inn, the world grows quieter still, inviting you gently into the slow and dependable rhythm of a Georgian mail coach making its faithful journey through the sleeping countryside. Tonight's road has grown quieter. The last farmhouse has disappeared behind a gentle rise, and the steady rhythm of the horses has become the only constant companion beneath a sky filled with countless stars. The warm glow of your coach lantern sways softly with every turn of the wheels, casting golden light across the polished leather harnesses before fading again into the vast English darkness. The mail must continue. It always continues. Along the great coaching roads of Georgian England, letters rarely slept, even when nearly everyone else did. A cool breeze carries the scent of damp grass from nearby meadows. Somewhere beyond a hedgerow, an owl calls once before returning to silence. Tiny drops of dew have already begun gathering upon the roadside shrubs, reflecting faint moonlight like scattered pieces of silver. Your hands rest comfortably upon the leather reins. By now, every movement feels familiar. The horses know the road almost as well as you do. Years of travel have quietly taught them where hills begin, where bridges narrow, where sharp bends appear without warning, and where fresh teams usually wait. No one speaks. There is no need. The road itself seems to breathe. Wooden wheels hum gently against the packed earth, while iron tires occasionally click over scattered stones that generations of coachmen have crossed before. Far ahead, a small lantern slowly appears. At first it seems like another wandering star resting upon the horizon. Gradually its warm glow grows larger, a coaching inn. Every long-distance driver comes to appreciate these lonely islands of light scattered across Britain's highways. They are far more than places to rest. They are workshops, kitchens, stables, post offices, meeting places, and temporary homes for travelers who may never meet again. As you approach, familiar sounds begin replacing the silence of open countryside. A stable door creaks. Someone laughs quietly inside. A blacksmith's hammer rings only once before stopping for the night. The smell of fresh hay drifts from the barns. Wood smoke rises from the inn's chimney, carrying the comforting aroma of oak logs and roasted onions. A stable boy has already been waiting. He recognizes the distant shape of the Royal Mail coach long before its wheels reach the courtyard. Within moments, several lanterns brighten. The arrival of the mail follows its own dependable rhythm. Doors open. Boots hurry across packed gravel. Fresh horses are quietly prepared. No one wastes unnecessary motion. Time matters. Every delayed minute affects dozens of connections farther along the route. Yet despite this quiet urgency, little feels rushed. Each person knows their task so well that everything unfolds almost peacefully. The horses are led away with gentle pats upon their necks. Steam rises from their warm bodies into the cool night air. They lower their heads gratefully toward waiting buckets of fresh water. Nearby, another team has already been brushed clean and fitted with polished harnesses. These animals appear remarkably calm. Many have worked these same few miles for years. Instead of traveling hundreds of miles, they repeatedly cover only the section nearest their stable before returning home again. This simple system keeps every horse healthier. Long journeys become possible because no single animal bears the entire burden. Inside the stable, lantern light reveals rows of carefully organized equipment. Leather collars hang neatly upon wooden pegs. Harness buckles have been polished smooth by countless hands. Extra horseshoes rest beside heavy iron tools. Everything has its place. Order creates speed. Speed protects the mail. The stable master approaches carrying a small notebook. Although much of his knowledge lives comfortably in memory, written records remain important. Each arrival is quietly noted, each departure carefully observed. How many horses arrived? How many left? Whether any appeared tired? Whether any required treatment. Such ordinary records helped keep Britain's expanding postal network remarkably reliable. Meanwhile, the guard carefully checks the locked mail compartment. Nothing appears disturbed. The heavy brass lock remains secure beneath its leather cover. Even during these brief stops, security never relaxes. Letters often carry contracts worth fortunes, government orders, military reports, family inheritances, news capable of changing distant lives. Many passengers know little about the unseen importance hidden behind those locked panels. To them, the coach simply delivers people from one town to another. Only those working beside it understand that entire businesses, courts, and families quietly depend upon these journeys continuing without interruption. Inside the inn, the atmosphere feels wonderfully warm after hours beneath the open sky. The fireplace glows softly. Heavy oak beams disappear into gentle shadows overhead. Simple wooden tables hold bowls of steaming broth beside thick slices of fresh country bread. The scent alone feels comforting. Many coachmen eat quickly, not because anyone demands haste, but because years upon the road have trained them to value every available minute. A bowl of vegetable broth, a piece of roasted beef, perhaps a wedge of local cheese, sometimes warm ale, sometimes only fresh water. The meals remain practical rather than luxurious. Still, after several cold hours outside, even the simplest supper feels deeply satisfying. Nearby, another driver quietly shares news gathered from the previous day's journey. A bridge several miles ahead has become muddy after recent rain. One village celebrates its annual fair next week. A merchant caravan has delayed traffic farther south. Such conversations rarely last long. Information spreads naturally from coach to coach, helping everyone prepare for tomorrow's road. Maps exist. Road guides exist. Yet no printed page updates itself as quickly as conversation between experienced travelers. Beside the fireplace sits an elderly woman knitting thick wool stockings. She has watched coaches arrive for decades. Every evening she notices different passengers, different weather, different stories passing briefly through her village. She may never travel farther than the surrounding countryside. Yet through these nightly arrivals she quietly witnesses the changing world. Foreign merchants, young soldiers, students, clergymen, families beginning new lives, all pass before her warm fire, staying only long enough for supper before disappearing once more into darkness. History often moves this way, not through famous speeches, not through grand battles, but through countless ordinary meetings that last only a few peaceful moments. Outside, the fresh team stands patiently beneath the stars. Their coats shine beneath lantern light. Leather straps have been adjusted, iron shoes checked, every buckle tightened one final time. The stable boy gently strokes the lead horse between its ears. Animals recognize kindness. Many drivers speak softly to their teams before departure, not because horses understand every word, but because familiar voices create calm. Soon the guard climbs back into position. His post horn rests beside him once more. The mailbags remain secure. Passengers settle comfortably beneath heavy blankets. The courtyard gradually falls silent again. One final lantern swings gently beside the stable entrance. The innkeeper raises a hand in quiet farewell. No ceremony, no applause. Simply another departure among thousands that together keep the kingdom connected. You gather the reins. The horses lean forward almost together. The wheels begin turning once again, slowly, steadily. The warm light of the coaching inn fades behind you until only a small golden point remains against the peaceful English countryside. Ahead lies another stretch of quiet road, another sleeping village, another bridge crossing a gentle river beneath the moon. The night is still young, and somewhere beyond the next rolling hill, more waiting letters continue their patient journey home. The steady rhythm of the horses soon becomes as familiar as the quiet beating of a restful heart. Hooves rise and fall upon the firm surface of the turnpike, while the coach gently rocks with each small rise and dip in the road. The lanterns cast warm circles of light ahead, revealing patches of pale gravel before surrendering them once again to the peaceful darkness beyond. Tonight, dear friend, there is no need to hurry. Georgian England sleeps around you, yet the road itself remains quietly awake. It has carried countless travelers before this journey and will continue long after every present passenger has reached home. A cool breeze drifts across the open countryside, carrying the scent of damp grass and freshly turned soil from nearby farms. Somewhere beyond the hedgerows, sheep rest in sheltered fields while cattle lie quietly beneath ancient oak trees. The land itself seems wrapped beneath a soft blanket of moonlight. The horses settle into their practiced pace with remarkable confidence. Lead horses often remember familiar stretches of road nearly as well as the drivers themselves. Long experience teaches them where hills begin, where bridges narrow, and where the ground becomes softer after heavy rain. Although the driver guides every journey, the horses contribute their own quiet wisdom gathered over years of faithful service. Above, the stars shine with unusual clarity. Without modern lights to soften the darkness, the night sky stretches from one horizon to the other like an endless velvet canopy scattered with countless brilliant points. Many experienced coachmen become surprisingly skilled at reading both stars and weather. A ring around the moon may suggest changing conditions. The direction of the wind often speaks long before clouds appear. You glance upward only briefly before returning your attention to the road. Beautiful though the heavens may be, a responsible driver never allows admiration to replace awareness. Far ahead, another lantern slowly appears. At first, it seems no larger than a single glowing ember floating through the darkness. Little by little, it grows brighter. Another mail coach approaches from the opposite direction. Both drivers recognize one another's presence long before either face becomes visible. Each gently adjusts the horses, keeping to the proper side of the road while allowing sufficient space for the heavy coaches to pass safely. The meeting lasts only a few seconds. A respectful nod, a raised hand, perhaps a cheerful "good evening." The guards exchange brief greetings without delaying either journey. For generations, these small encounters have formed an unspoken fellowship among those who spend their nights upon England's roads. Many coachmen know one another only through such passing meetings, yet they share an understanding built from cold winters, long miles, difficult weather, and countless peaceful nights much like this one. Soon the approaching lantern drifts behind you, shrinking until it disappears among the rolling hills. Silence returns. Only the steady creak of leather harnesses and the quiet turning of iron-rimmed wheels accompany your thoughts. The passengers remain comfortably settled beneath their blankets. One elderly gentleman gently adjusts his wool scarf before leaning once again against the padded side of the coach. Across from him, a young woman carefully cradles a small wooden box wrapped in cloth. Whatever rests inside clearly holds great importance, though no one asks questions. Travel often teaches people a quiet respect for one another's private stories. Some journeys begin with celebration, others begin with farewell. Many begin simply because ordinary life asks them to continue onward. The mail coach carries every kind of hope without judging any of them. A narrow stone bridge soon appears ahead. Its graceful arch spans a slow-moving stream whose surface reflects both moonlight and lantern glow. Water slips gently around smooth stones, creating a soft murmur that almost resembles whispered conversation. As the horses step onto the bridge, the sound beneath the wheels changes. The steady rumble of packed earth becomes the deeper echo of carefully fitted stone. Every bridge possesses its own voice. Some speak with hollow echoes. Others answer with solid confidence. Experienced drivers learn these sounds almost without thinking, noticing immediately if something feels unusual beneath the wheels. Fortunately, tonight everything feels secure. The bridge has served travelers faithfully for many years. Beyond it, the road begins a gentle climb through open countryside. The horses lean slightly into their harnesses, their breathing becoming just a little deeper as they pull together with quiet determination. No whip is needed. Good teams respond more willingly to calm guidance than harsh commands. Many respected drivers pride themselves on using patience rather than force. Healthy horses represent both valuable companions and essential partners. Their strength cannot be replaced overnight. Near the crest of the hill stands a solitary milestone carved from pale stone. Its weathered surface records the remaining distance to London while pointing toward the next important town farther north. Such markers offer quiet reassurance to travelers crossing unfamiliar country. Even in darkness, a lantern often reveals enough of the carved letters to confirm steady progress. Distance during the Georgian period feels different from today. A journey measured in miles is also measured in weather, changing landscapes, conversations, and countless small observations gathered along the way. Travel itself becomes part of daily life rather than merely the space between destinations. At the top of the hill, the countryside opens into a broad view. Rolling fields stretch peacefully beneath silver moonlight. Clusters of cottages rest among dark trees. A church tower rises above one sleeping village, its clock silent until morning. Thin ribbons of mist drift across low meadows where streams quietly wind through the landscape. No smoke rises now from most chimneys. The day's work has ended. Families sleep beneath thatched roofs, wrapped in blankets, warmed earlier beside crackling fires. Only a few farmhouse windows still glow with candlelight. Perhaps someone cares for a newborn child. Perhaps an elderly farmer cannot yet sleep. Perhaps bread is already being prepared for tomorrow's baking. Ordinary life continues even while the roads remain nearly empty. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with the cool freshness of the night air. The countryside possesses a fragrance unlike any crowded city. Fresh hay, wild herbs growing along roadside banks, distant pine, moist earth, the faint sweetness of blooming hedgerow flowers. Each season creates its own gentle perfume, familiar to those who spend countless hours traveling between towns. Tonight, the scent speaks of late summer, when fields remain full and harvest slowly approaches. Somewhere nearby, an owl calls softly from an old oak tree. Another answers from farther away. Their quiet conversation drifts across the fields before fading once more into stillness. The horses never seem troubled by such sounds. Wildlife and working animals have shared these peaceful nights for generations. Before long, another small cluster of lights appears in the distance. Not yet another coaching inn, only a quiet toll gate standing faithfully beside the road, where a lone keeper waits patiently through the long hours of darkness. His lantern burns steadily beside a modest stone cottage, welcoming every traveler who passes before dawn. The horses settle into a smooth, unhurried rhythm once again, their steady hoofbeats blending into the quiet music of the sleeping countryside. The coaching inn has disappeared behind a gentle rise, leaving only darkness, starlight, and the narrow ribbon of road stretching faithfully ahead. Tonight, dear friend, you continue your journey through Georgian England, where every mile carries not only letters, but the quiet pulse of an entire kingdom. The cool night air brushes gently across your face as you guide the team forward. A faint silver mist begins gathering above the low meadows beside the road. In places, it drifts so softly that it almost seems to float rather than move, wrapping distant hedgerows in delicate folds of white. The horses know this road well enough that they require little encouragement, stepping confidently despite the limited light. Far above, countless stars remain visible between slow-moving clouds. On especially clear nights, experienced coachmen often navigate as much by the sky as by familiar landmarks. A church tower silhouetted against the horizon, an ancient oak standing alone beside a crossroads, or the pale ribbon of a nearby river can all serve as quiet companions during the long journey. The road itself tells many stories. Here, deep wheel ruts reveal where countless wagons have passed after heavy rain. There, Fresh gravel marks a section recently repaired by local laborers. Occasionally, smooth stretches remind travelers that Parliament has invested considerable effort into improving important mail routes across Britain. Better roads mean more reliable communication, faster coaches, safer travel, more dependable trade. Every carefully repaired mile quietly strengthens the connections between towns that may never meet each other directly. Your lantern casts a warm pool of light upon the road ahead. Beyond that circle of golden light lies gentle mystery rather than danger. The landscape simply waits to reveal itself one peaceful bend at a time. Soon the road begins climbing a long hillside. The horses shorten their stride naturally. The heavy coach asks a little more from each animal now. You lean forward slightly, allowing them to find a comfortable pace rather than forcing greater speed. Good drivers understand that patience protects both horses and passengers. No journey benefits from unnecessary haste. Halfway up the hill, the wind grows cooler. From this higher ground, you can see scattered lights glowing across distant farms. Each tiny window shelters families already asleep. Tomorrow, before sunrise, they will begin another ordinary day. Milking cows, baking bread, feeding chickens, repairing fences, harvesting fields according to the season. Most may never ride inside a mail coach. Yet every letter delivered helps connect their quiet lives with relatives, merchants, employers, or loved ones living beyond the horizon. Somewhere a mother waits for news from her son serving in the Royal Navy. Elsewhere, a merchant expects confirmation that valuable wool has safely reached London. A university student hopes for another letter from home. A village doctor waits for medical supplies requested several days earlier. The passengers surrounding you know none of these people. Still, they help carry their hopes forward with every passing mile. The summit arrives gradually. The horses breathe steadily, small clouds of warm breath briefly visible in the lantern light before disappearing into the cool air. You allow them a short moment to settle before beginning the gentle descent. Gravity now lends its quiet assistance. Experienced coachmen remain especially attentive while traveling downhill. Too much speed places unnecessary strain upon the horses and threatens the balance of the coach itself. You carefully apply the brake. The great wooden wheels continue turning with measured confidence. Nothing feels hurried. Everything feels deliberate. Far below, a narrow river winds through the valley like polished silver beneath the moon. A stone bridge crosses its gentle current. Built many decades earlier by skilled masons, the bridge has witnessed generations of travelers, drovers leading cattle, pilgrims, merchants, soldiers, families seeking new beginnings. Now another mail coach quietly joins that endless procession. As you approach, the horses instinctively slow. Stone bridges deserve respect. Their surfaces can become smooth with age, especially after rain or winter frost. Tonight, however, the stones remain dry beneath the clear sky. The iron-shod hooves create a pleasant echo that rises briefly between the ancient parapet walls. Clip, clop, clip, clop. The sound rolls softly across the sleeping water below. A pair of ducks resting near the reeds stir only slightly before settling once again. The river itself hardly seems disturbed. It continues flowing toward distant towns, carrying reflections of stars that have watched countless generations come and go. Beyond the bridge stands a small roadside milestone. Its carved lettering catches just enough lantern light to reveal the remaining distance toward the next market town. Milestones serve as quiet promises. Each one reassures travelers that progress continues, even when the night feels endless. Passengers sometimes glance through frosted windows simply to read these familiar markers. Knowing another mile has passed offers gentle comfort during long journeys. Inside the coach, most travelers now sleep peacefully. The steady motion has become almost hypnotic. Blankets rise and fall with calm breathing. Occasionally, someone shifts position before drifting comfortably back into sleep. One gentleman still cradles his leather document case upon his lap, unwilling to let important papers leave his hands even while resting. Old habits travel as faithfully as the coach itself. The guard notices movement beside the hedgerow. He raises his lantern slightly. Only a fox. Its reddish coat glimmers briefly before it slips silently into the tall grass. Foxes often share these quiet roads with nighttime travelers. They hunt patiently while human activity grows still. Neither fears the other. Each simply continues its own peaceful work beneath the same moonlit sky. A gentle fragrance of damp earth rises from nearby fields. Fresh hay rests in neatly stacked ricks waiting for morning. Somewhere an owl calls across the valley. Its distant voice echoes softly before fading into silence once more. No passenger awakens. The horses remain calm. The countryside seems perfectly content with its own quiet rhythm. Hours pass differently upon the night road. Without busy markets or crowded streets, time stretches gently. The journey becomes less about reaching the destination and more about moving faithfully through each peaceful mile. For a coach driver, this rhythm soon feels as natural as breathing. Hands remain steady upon the reins. Eyes observe every bend. Ears notice changes in hoofbeats. The smallest difference in sound may reveal loose stones, muddy ground, or an approaching carriage long before it becomes visible. Experience grows quietly, not from dramatic moments, but from thousands of ordinary nights exactly like this one. Each journey teaches another lesson. Each season reveals another detail. Each horse possesses its own personality. Each road remembers those who travel it with care. Ahead, the road disappears into a peaceful woodland where tall oaks and ancient beeches stand like silent guardians beneath the moonlight. Their branches sway gently in the cool night breeze, and the lantern's glow begins to dance across the trunks as the coach approaches the forest's welcoming shadows. The first trees welcome you without a sound. Their broad branches stretch above the old coaching road, weaving together into a graceful canopy that softens the moonlight. Shadows gather gently beneath the ancient oaks, while the lantern hanging beside the coach paints warm circles of amber across rough bark and fallen leaves. The world seems smaller here, more intimate. The wide countryside gives way to a peaceful woodland where every sound feels closer, yet somehow quieter. The horses notice the change immediately. Their ears turn forward with quiet attention, but their pace never falters. They have traveled beneath these same branches many times before. The familiar scent of moss, damp wood, and leaf-covered earth tells them exactly where they are. A cool breeze wanders through the forest. It carries the fragrance of pine resin, wild fern, and rich soil that has rested beneath generations of fallen leaves. Somewhere overhead, branches gently brush against one another, with a soft whisper that almost resembles distant conversation. This woodland has watched countless travelers pass, Roman messengers, medieval pilgrims, farmers leading wagons, merchants carrying cloth, young apprentices leaving home for the first time, and now another Georgian mail coach quietly joins that endless procession. The forest keeps every secret, yet tells none. Your lantern reveals patches of white milestone paint left by road surveyors years earlier. Though simple, these markings help coachmen remain on the correct route when thick fog or winter snow hides the edges of the road. Long before modern signs, careful observation was one of a driver's greatest skills. Every bend, every bridge, every ancient tree, every stone wall, every familiar cottage. Together they formed a living map carried not on paper, but in memory. The horses continue with steady confidence. Their harnesses creak softly in perfect rhythm with the turning wheels. Leather straps flex. Metal buckles glimmer briefly. Wooden spokes roll faithfully over compacted earth. Each sound belongs exactly where it should. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing feels wasted. Inside the coach, a young woman slowly opens her eyes. She looks through the small window beside her. Beyond the glass, she sees only dark tree trunks slipping quietly past, interrupted now and then by gentle pools of lantern light. For a few peaceful moments, she simply watches. Then, reassured by the calm movement of the coach, she pulls her wool blanket a little closer and soon drifts back into comfortable sleep. Many passengers remember journeys this way, not by individual miles, but by small impressions. The smell of wood smoke, the warmth of an inn, the steady rocking of the coach, moonlight filtering through trees, the reassuring voice of an experienced driver. Years later, these simple memories often remain clearer than the destination itself. A little farther along, the guard quietly raises one hand. You ease the horses slightly. He has heard something. Not danger. Merely another traveler approaching from the opposite direction. Soon a faint lantern appears between the trees. Its gentle glow grows brighter with every passing moment until another coach slowly emerges from the darkness. The two drivers greet one another with a respectful nod. No lengthy conversation is necessary. Both understand the demands of the road. Both know there are passengers sleeping behind them. The coaches pass carefully, wheel to wheel, horse to horse. Lantern light briefly illuminates unfamiliar faces before both vehicles continue into opposite stretches of the night. Within seconds, silence returns. Only the fading rumble of distant wheels reminds you that someone else now continues their own quiet journey beneath the same sky. The forest gradually begins to thin. Moonlight once again reaches the road more easily. Ahead, the trees open into rolling pasture where sheep rest peacefully upon gentle hillsides. Most remain asleep, their thick wool catching faint silver light. Only a watchful sheepdog lifts its head as the coach passes. Satisfied that everything is as it should be, the faithful animal quietly settles once more beside the flock. Across Georgian England, such peaceful scenes repeat themselves every night. Farm after farm, village after village. Ordinary people trusting that tomorrow will arrive much like today. The dependable arrival of the mail coach plays its own quiet part in maintaining that confidence. Letters bring reassurance, business agreements, family news, official notices, invitations, receipts, maps, books, newspapers, even small parcels carrying carefully wrapped keepsakes. Although each item seems ordinary by itself, together they weave the invisible threads connecting homes across the kingdom. You glance toward the eastern horizon. The stars remain bright, yet one subtle change catches your attention. The darkness no longer feels quite as deep. A barely noticeable hint of pale gray has begun to soften the edge of the sky. Experienced drivers recognize these quiet signals long before sunrise itself appears. Night is beginning its slow farewell. The horses seem to sense it as well. Cool air becomes slightly fresher. Birdsong has not yet begun, but the silence feels different now. Less like deep midnight and more like the peaceful moments before a new day awakens. One passenger quietly stirs again. An elderly gentleman carefully checks the pocket watch tucked inside his waistcoat. Its polished silver case reflects a tiny flash of lantern light before disappearing once more beneath his coat. Time matters greatly on the mail route. Schedules are respected not because of strict rules alone, but because every delayed coach affects countless other journeys waiting farther along the network. One late arrival may postpone fresh horses, another coach, a connecting delivery, an important meeting. Punctuality becomes an invisible kindness offered to strangers who may never meet. Far ahead, a solitary lantern glows beside a small toll gate. The gatekeeper has already begun preparing for the approaching coach. He recognizes its familiar sound long before it arrives. Each night he hears different wagons, carts, riders, and coaches passing his quiet post. He knows many of them simply by their wheels. Some rattle, some creak, some roll heavily. The Royal Mail coach carries its own unmistakable rhythm. As you approach, the gatekeeper steps outside wearing a thick wool cloak against the cool air. He offers a polite smile. The barrier is lifted without delay. Mail coaches receive priority because every saved minute helps keep the kingdom's communication moving efficiently. No lengthy paperwork interrupts the journey. No unnecessary conversation delays the horses. Just a courteous greeting, a brief exchange of good wishes. Then the road belongs to you once again. Beyond the toll gate, the landscape widens into open farmland, stretching toward the first faint promise of dawn. Gentle fields shimmer beneath a blanket of dew, while distant windmills stand motionless against the brightening horizon. Somewhere ahead, another coaching inn is beginning to stir, where fresh horses, warm bread, and welcoming fires quietly await the travelers who have faithfully carried Britain's letters through another peaceful night. A faint ribbon of pale silver now stretches across the eastern horizon, though the stars still linger above the quiet English countryside. Night has not yet surrendered its peaceful hold, but morning has begun its patient approach. Between these two gentle worlds, the Royal Mail coach continues its faithful journey, carrying letters that have traveled through darkness toward homes that will soon awaken. The road ahead feels almost familiar enough to drive by memory alone. For an experienced mail coach driver, every mile possesses its own quiet character. A particular bend where elm trees lean slightly toward the roadway. A shallow dip where rainwater often gathers after autumn storms. A weathered stone wall whose uneven top has remained unchanged for generations. These landmarks become trusted companions during thousands of nighttime journeys. They ask for nothing, they simply remain. The horses breathe with calm determination. Thin clouds of warm breath drift into the cool air before disappearing almost instantly. Their pace remains steady, neither hurried nor slow. Long experience has taught them that another change of horses awaits farther ahead. Like the drivers themselves, they have learned that every stage of the route eventually leads to rest. Leather harnesses flex softly with each stride. The polished brass fittings catch the lantern's glow for only a heartbeat before fading once more into shadow. Every buckle, every strap, every carefully maintained piece of equipment represents countless hours of skilled craftsmanship. A harness maker in London, a blacksmith in York, a leather worker in Bath. Each contributes quietly to a journey they may never witness. The mail coach is never the work of one person alone. It is the product of many ordinary hands. As the coach rolls onward, a small brook appears beside the road. Its clear water moves gently over smooth stones, creating a quiet melody almost hidden beneath the rhythm of the wheels. A simple wooden footbridge crosses the stream, built for villagers walking between nearby farms. The bridge is narrow, too small for wagons, too modest to appear on important maps. Yet every morning children carrying milk pails, shepherds leading flocks, and elderly neighbors visiting one another rely upon it. History often remembers grand bridges spanning mighty rivers, but countless ordinary lives depend upon smaller crossings such as these. The brook continues beside the road for nearly half a mile. Morning mist curls lazily above its surface. Tiny droplets cling to wild grasses bending beneath their own weight. A pair of rabbits emerge cautiously from the hedgerow, pausing only long enough to watch the passing coach before disappearing once again into the shelter of the fields. The countryside is waking very slowly, not with sudden activity, but with gentle signs almost too quiet to notice. A robin offers the first tentative notes of its morning song. Another answers from a distant oak. Soon several more voices join together, not in perfect harmony, but in the comfortable rhythm nature has followed for centuries. Inside the coach, one passenger smiles faintly without opening his eyes. Perhaps the birds have entered his dreams. Or perhaps, even while sleeping, he senses that dawn is drawing near. The rocking motion of the coach remains wonderfully constant. Each rise and fall over the road creates a soothing rhythm that many travelers later remember with surprising affection. Some even claim they sleep better inside a well-driven mail coach than in unfamiliar lodging houses. The careful balance of the suspension, the measured pace of experienced horses, the confidence of skilled drivers, together they transform a difficult journey into something unexpectedly restful. Ahead, wisps of blue smoke begin rising from the chimney of a lonely farmhouse. Someone inside has already awakened, perhaps an elderly grandmother tending the morning fire, perhaps a young daughter preparing oat porridge before the family's work begins, perhaps a farmhand dressing quietly so as not to wake younger children still sleeping upstairs beneath heavy wool blankets. The mail coach passes without disturbing the peaceful household. Only the family dog lifts its head briefly before recognizing the familiar sound of the passing carriage. It gives no alarm. The coach belongs to the ordinary rhythm of country life. Near the farmhouse stands a modest orchard. Apple trees stretch their branches across dew-covered grass, their leaves trembling gently beneath the cool breeze. During autumn, these trees provide fruit not only for the family, but for travelers who occasionally purchase fresh apples from roadside baskets placed beside the gate. Simple hospitality has long accompanied England's coaching roads. A loaf of bread, a wedge of cheese, fresh cider, warm broth. Small kindnesses offered to strangers often become the memories travelers cherish most. You adjust the reins only slightly. The lead horse flicks an ear backward, responding immediately to the light touch. Good drivers rarely rely upon force. Communication is quiet, almost invisible. Years spent working with the same teams create mutual understanding that needs very few commands. The horses trust steady hands. The driver trusts willing hearts. Together they cover remarkable distances with quiet dignity. The guard stretches carefully upon his seat. His long night of watchfulness is nearly complete, yet his attention never fades. He scans distant hedgerows, crossroads, and open fields with practiced eyes, not because danger is expected, but because responsibility asks for constant awareness. The mail entrusted to his care belongs to thousands of people whose names he will never know. Duty often takes this peaceful form, doing the same careful work every day, without applause, without recognition, simply because others depend upon it. The eastern sky continues growing brighter. Soft shades of lavender blend into pale gold above distant hills. The moon, which guided travelers for so many hours, slowly loses its brilliance as daylight quietly claims the heavens. Nothing changes suddenly. Every color arrives gently. The countryside seems to inhale. Another day is about to begin. Across open meadows, sheep begin rising one by one. A shepherd appears in the distance, wrapped in a thick cloak against the morning chill. With his faithful dog beside him, he walks slowly toward the flock, beginning another ordinary day, much as his father and grandfather once did. He pauses for a moment as the mail coach passes. Removing his cap, he offers a respectful nod. You return the greeting. No words are exchanged. None are needed. Both of you understand the value of dependable work completed before most of the world has awakened. Soon, the outline of another coaching inn appears on the horizon. Its whitewashed walls glow softly beneath the first true light of dawn, while thin streams of chimney smoke curl peacefully into the brightening sky. In the stable yard, fresh horses already wait beside polished harnesses, and the comforting aroma of newly baked bread drifts gently through the crisp morning air. Another stage of the journey is drawing to a close. Another begins almost immediately. For Britain's mail never truly sleeps. It simply passes, with quiet determination, from one careful pair of hands to the next, carrying countless ordinary hopes across the peaceful roads of Georgian England. The coaching inn greets the arriving mail coach with the quiet confidence of a place that has welcomed travelers for generations. Dawn now spreads gently across the sky, replacing silver moonlight with warm shades of amber and soft gold. The first rays of sunlight touch the tiled rooftops, while tiny drops of dew sparkle upon the stable yard like scattered pieces of glass. Long before the coach comes to a complete stop, the stable staff are already moving. They know the timetable almost by heart. Every arrival has its own familiar rhythm. The rumble of wheels, the measured hoofbeats, the gentle call of the guard, the slight hiss of the brake. Each sound tells them exactly what must happen next. The horses come to a calm halt, their flanks rising and falling with slow, steady breaths. A groom immediately steps forward, speaking softly as he reaches for the lead horse's bridle. "There now, old friend." The words are spoken almost instinctively. Perhaps the horse understands only the reassuring tone. Perhaps that is enough. Within moments, the traces are carefully unfastened. Leather buckles loosen one by one. Heavy collars are lifted gently from broad shoulders. The horses lower their heads with visible relief as the weight disappears. One young stable boy carries fresh buckets of cool water from the nearby pump. He does not rush. Experienced horsemen know that tired animals should not drink too quickly after long exertion. Instead, each horse is allowed a measured drink before being rubbed down with thick bundles of clean straw. Steam rises softly from their warm coats in the cool morning air. Nearby, another groom carefully checks every hoof. He runs practiced fingers around each iron shoe, looking, feeling, listening. A loose nail discovered now prevents a much larger problem later along the road. The Royal Mail depends upon careful attention to the smallest details. Inside the stable, fresh teams wait patiently. These horses have rested throughout the night. Their coats have already been brushed until they shine beneath the early morning light. Harnesses hang neatly from polished wooden racks. Every strap has been inspected, every buckle polished, every trace arranged exactly where it belongs. Preparation is never hurried. Efficiency comes from order. The stable itself feels warm after the cool journey. The comforting scent of hay fills the air. Fresh oats rest in large wooden bins. Bundles of clean straw are stacked almost to the ceiling. Swallows dart gracefully through the open loft, already busy with their own morning routines. Generations of horses have rested within these same walls. Each arrival becomes another ordinary chapter in a story that has quietly continued for decades. Meanwhile, the passengers slowly awaken. One gentleman stretches carefully before adjusting his neatly folded cravat. A mother gently smooths her young son's hair while he blinks sleepily at the unfamiliar surroundings. An elderly lady smiles as she notices sunlight pouring through the coach window. "It seems we've traveled through the night," she says softly. One fellow passenger nods with a contented smile. "So peacefully that I scarcely noticed." Their conversation soon fades into the gentle sounds of morning. No one speaks loudly. Perhaps everyone senses that dawn deserves quiet voices. The innkeeper opens the wide front door. Warm air immediately spills into the courtyard. So does one of the most comforting scents any traveler could hope to discover after a night upon the road: fresh bread. Moments earlier, the baker had removed several golden loaves from the great brick oven behind the kitchen. Their crisp crusts crackle softly as they cool upon wooden racks. Nearby, thick oat porridge simmers gently over the fire. A pot of tea releases delicate curls of fragrant steam. Another pan quietly sizzles with bacon prepared for hungry guests beginning a new day. Simple meals, honest meals, the kind remembered long after expensive feasts have been forgotten. Many passengers choose to stretch their legs while the horses are exchanged. Some stroll only a few steps across the yard. Others admire the flower garden growing beside the inn. Lavender, rosemary, sage, mint. Their pleasant fragrances mingle with fresh country air, creating a peaceful welcome that seems to belong only to quiet English mornings. Near the entrance, a young maid carefully sweeps yesterday's dust from the stone threshold. Her work is steady and unhurried. Every guest who enters today will cross the path she has already prepared. Such tasks often go unnoticed. Yet together they create the comfort travelers remember. History depends as much upon quiet workers as famous leaders. The cook, the groom, the maid, the stable boy, the blacksmith, the laundress. Their names rarely appear in books, but countless journeys succeed because of their daily care. At the rear of the stable yard, the village blacksmith has already begun his morning. The first clear ring of hammer against iron echoes softly across the valley. Not harsh, not hurried, simply steady. Each measured strike shapes another horseshoe glowing faintly within the forge. Nearby, the great bellows breathe patiently, feeding the fire with gentle bursts of air. Many mail coach drivers know this blacksmith well. He understands their demanding schedule. When repairs become necessary, he works with calm efficiency rather than unnecessary haste. His craftsmanship travels far beyond the village itself. Every properly fitted horseshoe may carry travelers safely across hundreds of miles before needing replacement. The postmaster now steps into the yard carrying a carefully organized ledger beneath one arm. The incoming mail bags are transferred with practiced precision. Each seal is inspected, each pouch counted, each destination confirmed. Accuracy matters far more than speed. A single misplaced letter may delay important news for weeks. Yet through remarkable organization, thousands of letters successfully reach their destinations every single day. The passengers watch quietly as the exchange unfolds. Few truly appreciate the immense network operating behind these ordinary-looking canvas bags. From London to Edinburgh, from Bristol to York, from small fishing villages to growing industrial towns. Letters move steadily along invisible pathways created by discipline, trust, and countless dedicated workers. One young apprentice standing beside the stable asks an older driver a simple question. "Do you ever grow tired of driving the same roads?" The veteran smiles warmly before answering, "I've never traveled the same road twice." The apprentice looks puzzled. The older man continues, "The weather changes. The seasons change. The horses change. The passengers change. And so do I." He gently pats the polished side of the coach. The road always has something new to show those willing to notice. The apprentice quietly considers those words. Perhaps one day he too will guide a royal mail coach across England's peaceful countryside. Perhaps he will remember this conversation many years from now while watching another sunrise from the driver's box. Fresh horses are now fully harnessed. Their eyes are bright, their muscles well rested. They stamp eagerly upon the packed earth, ready to begin their own stage of the journey. The leather traces are fastened, the pole chains checked once more, the wheels inspected, the brake tested. Every movement follows a routine refined through decades of experience. There is comfort in such familiar order. As the final mailbags are secured and the passengers settle once again beneath their blankets, the morning sun climbs a little higher above the surrounding hills. Beyond the village, the road stretches toward bustling market towns where shops will soon open, church bells will begin to ring, and another ordinary day in Georgian England will quietly unfold. One letter, one traveler, and one peaceful mile at a time. The fresh team leans gently into their collars as the coach rolls away from the inn, leaving behind the comforting scent of warm bread and wood smoke. Morning has now fully awakened across the countryside, though the day still carries the peaceful calm that belongs only to the first hours after sunrise. Golden light spreads slowly across the fields. Long shadows stretch behind ancient hedgerows. Tiny drops of dew glisten upon every blade of grass before quietly disappearing beneath the growing warmth of the sun. The world seems to breathe a little more deeply. The horses move with renewed energy. Their hooves strike the firm coaching road with a confident, even rhythm that blends naturally with the gentle turning of the wheels. Fresh muscles replace those that faithfully carried the coach through the night, yet the journey itself continues without interruption. That seamless transition is one of the greatest achievements of Britain's coaching system. Travelers notice only smooth progress. Behind that simplicity lies careful planning. Every inn, every stable, every timetable, every groom, every driver. Each plays a quiet part in keeping the kingdom connected. You settle comfortably upon the driver's seat. The cool air now carries the scent of fresh hay drying in nearby meadows. Skylarks climb into the bright blue sky, their cheerful songs drifting high above fields where farmers have already begun another ordinary day. In one pasture, a pair of brothers guide a wooden plow behind two patient draft horses. Their work is slow, measured, almost timeless. The rich earth folds gently beneath the iron blade, preparing the field for another growing season. The younger brother occasionally glances toward the passing mail coach. Perhaps he wonders where it has come from. Perhaps he imagines the distant towns hidden beyond the next hills. For many country children, the Royal Mail Coach offers a small glimpse of the wider world. It arrives, it passes, and it carries with it endless possibilities. Not far beyond the fields, a village slowly comes to life. Thin streams of chimney smoke rise above rows of stone cottages. Doors open one by one. A baker places warm loaves upon a wooden shelf outside his shop. A co-opper rolls finished barrels into the sunlight. A seamstress opens her shutters to welcome the morning light into her modest workshop. Each trade begins quietly. Each person contributes something valuable. The rhythm of village life depends upon many ordinary skills practiced faithfully day after day. The mail coach never lingers long. Its schedule allows only a brief exchange of greetings before continuing onward. Yet even these passing moments leave gentle impressions. Children wave enthusiastically from cottage gardens. A gardener pauses beside blooming roses and raises his hat with a friendly smile. An elderly gentleman walking with a polished wooden cane steps carefully aside to give the horses plenty of room. Courtesy travels these roads almost as often as the mail itself. The guard returns each greeting with a respectful nod. His polished post horn rests quietly beside him, catching flashes of morning sunlight. Unlike the busy signals of the previous evening, there is little need to sound it now. The road ahead remains clear. Most wagons have already moved aside after hearing the approaching coach from a distance. Everyone understands the importance of keeping the mail moving. The countryside gradually begins to change. Rolling farmland gives way to gentle woodland once again, though this forest feels very different from the one crossed during the night. Now sunlight filters through countless green leaves, creating moving patterns across the road below. The air feels warmer. Birdsong grows richer. Squirrels dart playfully between sturdy oak branches, gathering the last forgotten acorns from beneath the trees. A small stream crosses beneath a sturdy stone bridge built many decades earlier. Its graceful arch reflects perfectly upon the still water below. Moss softens the edges of carefully placed stones. Wildflowers bloom along the banks. The bridge has carried countless travelers, merchants, pilgrims, soldiers, families, mail coaches, each journey different, each quietly becoming part of its long history. As the coach crosses, several ducks glide peacefully downstream, barely disturbed by the gentle vibration overhead. Nature and travel have learned to share these places without haste. On the opposite side of the bridge stands a modest roadside milestone. Its carved lettering has softened after years of rain, frost, and sunshine. Still, the remaining numbers continue serving their purpose. Distances matter greatly on coaching routes. Drivers quietly calculate the miles remaining before the next scheduled stop. Passengers often glance toward the milestones with quiet curiosity, measuring the steady progress of their own journeys. One young university student removes a small notebook from his traveling case. He carefully records the names of villages passed along the route, the condition of the roads, the weather, interesting buildings, small observations that might otherwise disappear with time. Such journals later become valuable windows into everyday life, not because they describe famous events, but because they preserve ordinary moments exactly as they were lived. Across the aisle, an older woman notices his careful writing. "You'll enjoy reading those pages many years from now," she says kindly. The student smiles. "I hope I'll remember the places." "You will," she replies softly, "but you'll remember the people even more." Her words settle gently into the quiet coach. Travel has always been about more than destinations. The road introduces strangers who briefly become companions. A shared breakfast, a quiet conversation, a helping hand with heavy luggage. Simple moments often become lasting memories. The coach continues steadily toward a lively market town, now visible in the distance. Its church tower rises above clusters of red brick buildings. Colorful market tents are already appearing within the central square. Farmers arrive with wagons carrying vegetables, butter, eggs, cheese, apples, and freshly cut flowers. Merchants carefully arrange bolts of cloth beneath striped awnings. A bookseller unlocks his small shop while placing several neatly bound volumes in the front window. Soon the square will fill with cheerful voices. But for now, everything unfolds with calm purpose. The mail coach enters through the town's broad stone gateway at little more than a walking pace. Respect for pedestrians is expected. Shopkeepers pause to watch the familiar coach pass. Several recognize the driver. A few exchange warm smiles. Routine creates quiet friendships even among people whose conversations rarely last more than a minute. At the town post office, another carefully organized exchange begins. Canvas mailbags are unloaded with practiced efficiency. Bundles of letters are sorted according to nearby villages. Outgoing correspondence waits neatly tied with sturdy twine, ready to continue its own journey across Britain. Among the letters are birthday wishes, business contracts, military reports, university applications, invitations to weddings, condolences written with trembling hands, and brief notes simply saying, "I arrived safely." Each envelope carries hopes too personal to measure, yet together they form the gentle heartbeat of a nation connected not only by roads, but by words written with care. As the final bags are secured once more, the horses stamp patiently upon the cobbled street, ready to continue beyond the busy market town. Ahead, the road climbs gradually toward rolling hills where wide views of the English countryside await, and with them another peaceful chapter in the quiet, dependable life of a Georgian mail coach driver. The road begins its gentle climb beyond the market town, leaving behind the cheerful bustle of morning commerce. Before long, the sounds of wagons, merchants, and church bells grow softer until they blend into the peaceful silence of the open countryside once more. Ahead, broad hills rise in graceful layers beneath a clear Georgian sky. The climb is steady, not steep enough to trouble the fresh horses, yet gradual enough to remind every driver that the road ahead demands patience rather than speed. You loosen the reins ever so slightly, allowing the team to settle into a comfortable rhythm. There is no value in urging horses uphill too quickly. Experienced coachmen know that strength is preserved through consistency. The animals respond willingly. Their breathing remains calm. Each powerful step presses firmly into the packed earth before lifting again with quiet confidence. The coach follows faithfully behind them. Its polished wheels roll smoothly over the carefully maintained turnpike, occasionally passing workers who inspect the surface after recent rain. These road laborers begin their day before many travelers have even awakened. One man spreads fresh gravel across a worn section of roadway. Another clears loose stones from a shallow drainage ditch. A third carefully trims overgrown hedges that might otherwise narrow the route. Their work is repetitive, often unnoticed. Yet without such daily care, the coaching network would slowly begin to fail. Good roads are built not only by engineers, they are preserved by ordinary hands. As you pass, one of the workers removes his broad hat and smiles. The gesture is returned with a quiet nod. Neither man speaks. The exchange lasts only a heartbeat. Still, it reflects the quiet respect shared between those whose work depends upon the road. Near the crest of the hill, the countryside suddenly opens before you. Miles of gently rolling farmland stretch toward the distant horizon. Stone cottages appear no larger than children's toys. Church spires rise above clusters of ancient trees. Narrow rivers catch the morning sunlight, winding gracefully through green valleys like polished ribbons of silver. For a few peaceful moments, every passenger turns toward the windows. Even those who have traveled this route many times cannot resist the view. The young university student quietly closes his notebook. Some landscapes ask not to be described, only admired. The elderly lady beside him smiles gently. "It never grows old." "No," the student replies softly. "It somehow feels new every time." The coach continues along the ridge, where cool breezes carry the sweet fragrance of wild thyme and blooming heather. Butterflies drift lazily among patches of purple flowers. Honeybees move patiently from blossom to blossom, already busy with another day's quiet work. Nature follows its own dependable timetable. The mail coach follows another. Together they create a peaceful rhythm that has shaped the English countryside for generations. Far below, a shepherd guides his flock across open pasture. The tiny white shapes move almost like clouds drifting over green hills. His sheepdog circles patiently around the edges, requiring only an occasional whistle to guide the animals toward fresh grazing. Watching from above, the entire scene unfolds with remarkable calm. No hurry, no confusion, only steady purpose. History often appears dramatic when viewed through books. Living it was usually much quieter. The road gradually descends into another broad valley where an old coaching bridge spans a slow-moving river. Unlike the narrow woodland streams crossed earlier, this river carries small trading barges loaded with timber, wool, flour, and barrels bound for larger towns farther downstream. Transportation in Georgian Britain rarely depended upon a single route. Roads, rivers, coastal ships, canals, increasingly common as the century progresses. Together they formed an expanding network that carried both goods and ideas throughout the kingdom. As the coach approaches the bridge, you notice a bargeman guiding his long wooden vessel beneath the graceful stone arch. He raises one hand in greeting. The guard answers with a cheerful wave. For just a brief moment, two very different travelers share the same peaceful journey, one upon water, the other upon the road. Then each quietly continues towards separate destinations. The bridge itself is beautifully constructed. Strong stone piers rise confidently from the flowing river below. Moss and ivy soften their edges, while swallows have built neat nests beneath the arches where they remain sheltered from wind and rain. The bridge has endured countless winters, heavy wagons, floods, snow, endless seasons. Its builders may be long forgotten, Yet their careful craftsmanship continues serving strangers every single day. Beyond the river stands a modest roadside chapel. Its small bell tower rises above a grove of ancient yew trees. Several travelers remove their hats as the coach passes. Others simply bow their heads for a quiet moment of reflection. Faith forms a gentle part of everyday Georgian life, not always through grand ceremonies, sometimes through simple habits repeated with sincerity. The chapel door stands open. Inside, a single candle still burns beside the morning altar. An elderly caretaker slowly sweeps the worn stone floor. He pauses only long enough to watch the passing mail coach disappear beyond the next bend before returning peacefully to his work. Farther along, the road passes a field where several children gather fallen apples beneath old orchard trees. Their laughter carries softly across the valley. One little boy waves enthusiastically toward the coach. The passengers smile and wave back. For the children, each passing mail coach brings a hint of adventure. Where has it come from? Where is it going? Who sits inside? Questions such as these have inspired imaginations for centuries. Perhaps one child dreams of becoming a coachman. Another imagines distant cities. Another simply enjoys watching the magnificent horses disappear down the winding road. Every generation watches the mail coach with fresh eyes. Near midday, the warmth of the sun begins to soften the coolness that lingered through dawn. The horses' coats shine beautifully beneath the growing light. Occasionally their tails swish lazily at curious flies, though their pace never changes. You offer each horse quiet encouragement, a familiar word, a gentle touch upon the reins. Nothing more is needed. Trust has grown naturally through many shared journeys. The passengers, too, have become comfortable companions. Conversation rises and falls gently without ever disturbing the peaceful mood. The young student shares a story about his first visit to London. The elderly gentleman recalls winters when snowdrifts nearly buried the coaching roads. A mother quietly points toward distant deer grazing beneath ancient oak trees, inviting her son to count them before they disappear into the forest. No one seeks attention. Each simply contributes another small thread to the quiet tapestry of the journey. As the afternoon slowly approaches, the outline of a grand country estate appears beyond rows of towering chestnut trees. Wide iron gates stand open. Gardeners tend carefully trimmed lawns, and a long carriage drive curves gracefully toward a stately Georgian manor surrounded by peaceful lakes and shaded woodland. The Royal Mail coach will not stop there, yet its passing offers another gentle glimpse into the many different lives quietly unfolding across Britain, each connected, in its own way, by the letters traveling faithfully inside the coach. The Royal Mail coach follows the gently curving road as it passes the grand country estate, its iron gates standing wide beneath towering chestnut trees whose leaves shimmer softly in the afternoon breeze. Sunlight dances across the polished harnesses of the horses, while the distant manor house seems to rest peacefully among ancient oaks, reflecting itself upon a quiet lake that has scarcely changed for generations. Although the estate appears grand, the coach does not slow. Its purpose is not to linger at great houses or impressive gardens. The mail belongs equally to every corner of Britain. A nobleman's correspondence, a blacksmith's receipt, a widow's letter from her son, a schoolmaster's order for new books. Every sealed envelope receives the same careful journey. That quiet fairness has become one of the strengths of the Royal Mail. The road bends gently around the estate before returning once again to open countryside. Here, broad meadows stretch beneath the afternoon sky, where hay has recently been gathered into tall stacks that cast long shadows across the fields. Farm workers continue their harvest at an unhurried pace, speaking occasionally as wooden carts creak steadily toward nearby barns. Harvest seasons always bring a particular rhythm. Every family understands its responsibilities. Some gather grain, others bind sheaves. Children collect loose stalks left behind. Even the smallest hands contribute something useful. Work shared together often feels lighter than work carried alone. A pleasant breeze carries the sweet fragrance of freshly cut hay across the road. Mixed within it comes the familiar scent of warm leather, polished wood, and the faint trace of lamp oil from the coach lantern that faithfully burned throughout the previous night. Although daylight now fills the countryside, the lantern remains securely fastened beside the coach. By evening, it will quietly resume its duty once more. Every journey contains its own cycle. Morning follows night. Night welcomes another morning. The mail continues through both without complaint. Ahead, several women spread freshly washed linen across long hedges to dry beneath the afternoon sunshine. White sheets ripple gently in the breeze like quiet sails upon an invisible sea. Nearby, children laugh as they chase one another through the grass, careful not to disturb the carefully folded baskets of clean clothing waiting beside the lane. The passengers smile at the cheerful scene. Simple domestic moments often leave the deepest impressions. One elderly gentleman quietly remarks, "There is something comforting about seeing ordinary life continue." The young student beside him nods. "History is full of ordinary afternoons," he replies, "and perhaps those are the ones most worth remembering." The conversation fades naturally. Neither feels the need to add more. The coach reaches another modest village where life moves at its own gentle pace. A wheelwright carefully shapes the rim of a new wagon wheel beneath the shade of his workshop. Thin curls of fresh oak fall around his boots as his tools glide confidently through the timber. Across the lane, the village coopper tightens iron hoops around sturdy barrels destined for breweries, merchants, and farmhouses throughout the county. Not far away, a weaver sits beside an open window where sunlight falls across a wooden loom. Thread passes steadily through practiced fingers, back and forth, again and again, creating cloth that may one day become blankets, coats, or sturdy traveling cloaks worn upon roads such as this one. Each craft supports another. The blacksmith shoes the horses. The wheelwright repairs the wagons. The coopper builds the barrels. The baker prepares the bread. The innkeeper welcomes travelers. The coachman carries the mail. The entire countryside functions through quiet cooperation rather than grand displays. As the afternoon advances, scattered clouds drift lazily across the sky, briefly softening the sunlight before moving onward. The changing light paints the landscape in gentle variations of gold and shadow. Stone cottages brighten, then dim. Fields glow warmly before returning to softer shades of green. Every passing cloud creates a new painting across the hills. No two moments appear exactly alike. The horses seem content with the cooler air that accompanies the drifting clouds. Their steady breathing remains relaxed. Occasionally one flicks an ear toward a distant bird or rustling hedge, yet their attention quickly returns to the familiar road beneath their hooves. Good horses learn not only obedience, but confidence. They trust both the road and the hands guiding them. A little farther ahead, the coach approaches a modest village school. Lessons have just ended for the day. Children emerge carrying slates, small books, and neatly rolled papers tied with ribbon. Several stop respectfully beside the road as the Royal Mail coach passes. Their teacher removes his hat. The guard answers with a polite nod. Among those children may be future doctors, farmers, merchants, clergymen, teachers, perhaps even future mail coach drivers. Education, like the postal system itself, quietly binds the nation together. Knowledge travels, letters travel, ideas travel. Roads make all three possible. One small boy watches the coach disappear until it becomes little more than a moving shape beyond the next rise. He wonders what distant cities might look like, whether London is truly as busy as travelers describe, whether ships upon the River Thames are as countless as the stories suggest. His imagination begins its own quiet journey long before his feet ever leave the village. The afternoon sun slowly lowers toward the western sky. Its warmth grows softer now. Golden light settles gently across the countryside, touching church towers, grazing cattle, winding rivers, and ancient hedgerows with remarkable tenderness. Long shadows return. Birdsong changes once more as daytime gradually prepares to yield to evening. Inside the coach, the passengers have grown wonderfully comfortable with one another. Conversation becomes less frequent, not from weariness alone, but from quiet contentment. Sometimes companionship requires only shared silence. The gentle rocking of the coach continues as faithfully as ever. Wood creaks softly, harnesses murmur, hooves keep their patient rhythm upon the road. The sounds have become so familiar that they feel almost like music, steady enough to calm the mind, gentle enough to invite peaceful reflection. Far ahead, a faint column of chimney smoke rises above another coaching inn waiting beyond a line of graceful elm trees. Lanterns have not yet been lit, but preparations for evening are already beginning. Fresh horses will soon be brushed and fed, supper will quietly simmer over open fires, and another night's journey will gradually unfold beneath the returning stars. For a Georgian mail coach driver, the road is never simply a path between places. It is a faithful companion, carrying countless ordinary lives together through the gentle passage of time. The road has grown quieter now. Many hours have passed since the coach first rolled away from the bustle of the larger towns, and the kingdom itself seems wrapped beneath a gentle blanket of darkness. Only the steady rhythm of hooves and wheels reminds you that this small traveling world continues its patient journey while most people sleep. A cool breeze drifts across open fields, carrying the earthy scent of damp grass and distant hedgerows. Above, the stars shine with remarkable clarity, untouched by the bright lights that future generations will one day take for granted. The moon hangs low over the countryside, bathing winding roads, stone bridges, and quiet cottages in silver light. Tonight, the coach travels through one of England's quieter farming districts. The landscape is softer here, with gently rolling hills, scattered sheepfolds, and small orchards resting beneath the summer sky. The horses no longer hurry, neither do you. Experience has taught every driver that the final hours before dawn belong to patience rather than speed. Tired animals deserve understanding, not harsh commands. A calm pace often proves faster in the end than forcing exhausted horses beyond their comfort. The leather reins feel familiar beneath your gloved hands. Every tiny movement carries meaning. A slight adjustment helps the horses negotiate a bend. Another eases their pace while descending a gentle hill. Good driving rarely attracts attention. Its success lies in making every difficult task appear effortless. Beside you, the guard watches the hedgerows almost absent-mindedly now. Earlier in the evening, his eyes searched constantly for danger, but these well-traveled roads have become reassuringly familiar. Even so, habit never sleeps. From time to time, he quietly scans distant tree lines. Old instincts remain valuable companions. Ahead, a narrow stone bridge crosses a slow-moving river. The water reflects both moonlight and stars, appearing almost motionless beneath the ancient arches. Reeds whisper softly along the riverbanks, while somewhere downstream a night bird calls only once before silence returns. The horses recognize the bridge. Their pace changes naturally as iron shoes meet carefully laid stone. The hollow rhythm echoes briefly across the water, then fades. Many bridges along these coaching routes have carried travelers for generations. Farm carts, pilgrims, merchants, soldiers, stagecoaches. Each crossing leaves no lasting mark upon the stone itself, yet together they create an invisible history of ordinary movement stretching across centuries. Beyond the bridge, mist begins gathering in low meadows. Thin white ribbons drift quietly across the fields, softening fences and trees into gentle silhouettes. It becomes more difficult to judge distance, but experienced drivers understand these changing landscapes. The road remains trustworthy. It has guided countless journeys before this one. One passenger stirs beneath a heavy wool blanket. Without fully waking, he adjusts his hat before drifting peacefully back to sleep. The gentle rocking of the coach has become almost like the slow motion of a cradle. Many travelers discover that stagecoaches, despite their reputation for discomfort, sometimes provide surprisingly restful moments during the quietest hours of night. The steady sounds rarely change. Hooves, wheels, harness, wind. Together they create a rhythm almost musical in its repetition. There is comfort in familiar patterns. At a lonely farmhouse set well back from the road, a single candle still burns in an upstairs window. Perhaps someone waits for a loved one expected tomorrow. Perhaps a farmer has risen early to begin baking before sunrise. Or perhaps an elderly resident simply sleeps less deeply now than in younger years. The coach passes without disturbing the peaceful household. Within moments, the small golden light disappears behind ancient oak trees. Farther along the road stands a tiny parish church. Its square stone tower rises quietly above the surrounding yew trees, unchanged through generations of baptisms, weddings, harvest festivals, and peaceful farewells. The churchyard rests beneath moonlight. Weathered gravestones cast long shadows across neatly kept grass. No sound comes from within its walls, yet the building itself feels quietly alive with memory. Every village possesses such places, not grand, not famous, simply dependable, anchoring communities through changing centuries. Nearby stands the modest home of the parish clerk. Smoke no longer rises from the chimney. Everyone inside sleeps soundly. Tomorrow morning bells will once again greet the village, but for now, silence serves as the night's most faithful companion. A fox suddenly appears near the roadside. Its reddish coat glows softly beneath the moon as it pauses to observe the approaching coach. For only a heartbeat, human travelers and wild creatures share the same quiet moment. Then, without alarm, the fox slips gracefully into tall grass and vanishes. The horses scarcely notice. They have encountered such woodland neighbors countless times before. Wildlife forms an unnoticed part of every overnight journey. Owls glide silently between trees. Hedgehogs wander across quiet lanes. Rabbits pause beside hedgerows before disappearing into burrows. Most passengers never realize how much peaceful life continues around them while they rest. The countryside belongs to many quiet travelers besides those who ride upon wheels. Hours pass gently. No one counts them anymore. Time itself seems less important than the simple continuation of the journey. Every mile brings another familiar landmark, a weathered milestone, an old oak, a roadside cross, a shepherd's gate. Each becomes another reassuring sign that the road continues exactly where generations expected it to be. Eventually, the eastern horizon begins to soften almost imperceptibly. Night has not yet ended. The stars remain visible overhead, yet somewhere beyond distant hills, morning patiently prepares its arrival. The air grows cooler for a short while before dawn. Moisture gathers upon leather harnesses. Tiny droplets shimmer upon the horses' manes. Fresh scents rise from fields where dew settles across long grasses. One by one, birds begin testing the approaching morning with hesitant songs. Not a full chorus, only scattered notes, as though nature itself wakes gradually rather than all at once. The passengers remain asleep. Blankets rise and fall with slow breathing. Mailbags rest securely beneath their waterproof coverings. Every letter continues its quiet journey toward homes, businesses, families, and friends who have no idea how many peaceful miles have already carried their words across the sleeping kingdom. Soon, the first warm colors of dawn will begin touching distant rooftops. Another coaching inn will prepare breakfast. Fresh horses will stamp gently inside clean stalls. Kitchen fires will awaken. Stable doors will open. The long night's work will slowly give way to a brand new day. Yet for these final quiet miles beneath fading stars, there is only the road, the horses, the whisper of cool wind across the fields, and the comforting certainty that even the most ordinary journeys help connect countless ordinary lives. The coach continues steadily onward, welcoming the gentle promise of morning without ever hurrying to meet it. The final miles of the journey often arrive so quietly that even experienced travelers hardly notice when the eastern sky begins its slow transformation. The darkness softens rather than disappears. Stars that had guided the road throughout the night gradually surrender their places one by one, fading into the pale blue light of approaching dawn. The air carries a different scent now. Night's cool dampness lingers over the hedgerows, while the first hints of fresh morning drift gently across the fields. The horses notice the change before anyone speaks of it. Their ears lift toward the growing chorus of waking birds hidden among ancient oaks. Their steady breathing forms little clouds that disappear almost as soon as they appear. You loosen your grip upon the reins just slightly, not because the road has become easier, but because horse and driver have settled into a perfect understanding after so many peaceful hours together. There are moments during every journey when words become unnecessary. Only rhythm remains, the quiet creak of leather, the patient turning of wooden wheels, the measured beat of iron shoes against the packed coaching road. Together they create a melody that no orchestra could ever fully imitate. It is the music of ordinary work performed with care. Ahead, morning mist lies across a broad meadow like a soft white blanket. Stone fences emerge only a few yards at a time before disappearing again into the gentle haze. Sheep stand almost motionless, their wool gathering tiny beads of dew that sparkle faintly whenever the growing sunlight reaches them. The countryside seems reluctant to wake too quickly. Every tree, every pasture, every winding stream appears content to stretch peacefully into another day. A small farmhouse comes into view beyond an orchard. Thin blue smoke rises steadily from its chimney. Someone inside has already placed kindling upon the morning fire. Perhaps fresh oat porridge now simmers gently above glowing coals. Perhaps bread dough rests beneath a linen cloth, waiting for the warmth of the kitchen. Perhaps a family prepares to begin another ordinary day without ever imagining how many unseen travelers pass quietly beyond their gate each morning. Life unfolds differently upon every road, yet all lives touch one another in small, unnoticed ways. The letters resting safely behind you will soon cross many more doorsteps like this one. A son riding home from university. A merchant confirming the arrival of valuable cargo. A young woman thanking relatives for a thoughtful gift. A village doctor requesting fresh medicines. None of these messages seeks fame. Each simply keeps ordinary lives gently connected. That quiet purpose has carried the coach faithfully across countless miles. The guard glances toward the brightening horizon. His heavy cloak, so welcome during the long night, now rests folded neatly beside him. He removes one glove for a moment, warming his fingers in the first gentle rays of sunlight. Even small comforts feel meaningful after hours spent upon the open road. Behind you, several passengers begin to stir beneath their blankets. One elderly gentleman carefully straightens his traveling hat before anyone else awakens. Across from him, a young woman opens her eyes just long enough to admire the golden fields emerging from the mist before smiling quietly to herself. No one rushes to speak. There is a peaceful understanding among travelers who have shared the silence of night together. Even strangers become quiet companions after many miles. A little farther ahead, The road crosses another graceful stone bridge. Below, the river flows as patiently as it has for generations. Its surface reflects pale clouds drifting lazily overhead. Willow branches bend toward the water, their long leaves brushing the current whenever the breeze passes through. The horses slow naturally while climbing the bridge, not from weariness alone, but from long habit. They know these roads almost as well as the drivers themselves. Each gentle hill, each familiar bend, each narrow crossing. Memory belongs not only to people, but also to the faithful animals that travel beside them. Beyond the bridge, a milestone stands quietly at the roadside. Its carved numbers have been softened by decades of rain and wind. Thousands of travelers have passed this same marker, some hurried, some anxious, some joyful, some burdened with difficult news. Yet the stone has greeted every one of them with silent patience. History often survives in such humble objects, not grand monuments, not royal palaces, simply well-worn roads, old bridges, weathered milestones, the ordinary places where everyday life quietly unfolded. Soon the towers of another market town rise gently above the surrounding countryside. Church bells begin ringing across the rooftops. Their slow morning notes drift over gardens, workshops, and narrow lanes where shopkeepers are only beginning to unlock heavy wooden shutters. Bakers sweep yesterday's ashes from warm ovens before placing fresh loaves inside. Blacksmiths prepare their forges for another day's careful work. Stable doors open. Milk pails clink softly together. Children help gather eggs before breakfast. Every profession awakens at its own gentle pace. The coach enters through the town gate with no great fanfare. Its arrival is simply another familiar part of morning life. The stable yard already waits with fresh horses. Porters stand ready beside handcarts. An official from the post office approaches carrying neatly organized records beneath one arm. Each mailbag is received carefully, each seal examined, each destination confirmed before another stage of the journey begins. Nothing is hurried. Accuracy matters more than speed. Generations have learned that careful work saves far more time than careless haste. Nearby, passengers collect their modest belongings. Blankets are folded, walking sticks gathered, travel cloaks adjusted. Warm smiles and quiet nods replace lengthy farewells. Most will never meet again. Yet for one peaceful night they shared the same road beneath the same stars. Sometimes that is enough. The horses receive their well-earned reward before anyone thinks of themselves. Buckets of fresh water, bundles of fragrant hay, gentle brushing to remove dried foam from their coats. A stable boy quietly thanks each animal while checking its legs for signs of strain. Kindness has always been part of good horsemanship. The finest drivers understand that strength grows best when matched with patience. You finally climb down from the driver's seat. For the first time in many hours, your boots rest upon still ground. The silence feels almost unfamiliar after listening to the wheels throughout the night. You stretch tired shoulders slowly. The morning sun warms your face. Another journey has ended exactly as it should, without drama, without celebration, simply with honest work completed well. Before long, another coach will depart. Another team of horses will step confidently onto the road. Another collection of letters will begin its quiet passage across rivers, hills, forests, and villages. The kingdom never truly sleeps. It simply breathes at different rhythms throughout the day and night. As for you, dear friend, perhaps it is time to leave the busy coaching yard behind and allow its sounds to drift gently into the distance. The horses have found their rest. The letters continue safely onward. The roads remain patient beneath the morning light, and somewhere far beyond these peaceful fields, another quiet evening will eventually arrive. Another lantern will glow beside another welcoming inn, and another mail coach will begin its unhurried journey beneath the stars. But that is a story for another night. For now, the road grows still. The countryside rests beneath soft golden light. The last echoes of turning wheels fade gently into memory. May your own journey tonight end just as peacefully. May your thoughts become as quiet as the English fields at sunrise, and may sleep find you as gently as dawn found the old mail coach upon its faithful road.